Up, y'all? Welcome to my channel, AR Sports Dynamics, where I'm here to talk about everything sports. I am a Falcons, Hawks, Braves, Dogs fan. I currently go to the University of Georgia, and I'm sophomore there. Go Dogs! Hopefully, we go back to back. A little bit of info about me. I've been a Falcons fan since I was 10 in 2012. It's been a decade of rooting for them. It's been tough, but I love this team. My favorite player of all time, Julio Jones. I know it sucks that he's on the Bucks, but it was awesome being able to watch a top 7 wide receiver of all time play for my team. I was actually there at the game against the Panthers where he dropped 300 yards, my favorite game that I've been to live. And yeah, let's get into it. I'm here to do a Falcons season review today. We are currently sitting at 5-8. Before the season started, my predictions were 3-14. I thought we'd beat the Saints once. I don't really care if it was week 1 or week 13, 14. I thought we'd beat the Panthers once, and I thought we'd beat the Seahawks. I see we beat the Panthers and the Seahawks. I was right on those. I didn't really know about the Browns. I was iffy. I wasn't very confident with our roster. Our pass rush is like non-existent. Still really isn't there. Our secondary I was really high on. I love Terrell, obviously, so I thought he'd be great. He's been solid. He kind of regressed a little from last year, but it's been blown way out of proportion, and I'll talk about that later. Casey Hayward, wow. Wow. I was wrong on him. He's been hurt, but when he was playing, he wasn't very good. He's an old corner, and cornerback, the position's so volatile. It's so easy to regress. So I don't know why I expected so much from him. And Isaiah Oliver, also, I thought he'd take the leap. He's been hurt. But yeah, it has not been good. But anyway, we're 5-8, 2 more wins than I predicted in total. I thought we'd be in the Bryce Young sweepstakes. We are not. He's most likely going first overall. Maybe next year we'll be in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes. We'll see. But anyway, we're 5-8. Only 1 game out from first in division, and also we're in the top 10. We also have a top 10 pick currently. So interesting. Definitely not where I expected us to be. But let's get into it. Let's talk about how the season's been going. So the first thing I want to talk about for the Falcons season is obviously the quarterback, Marcus Mariota. Wow. Now, I know he's a bridge quarterback to whatever, if Desmond Ridder is the future, if another quarterback in the draft is the future, but Mariota has been disappointing, and I'm sorry. He's a great person, but not the best quarterback. I first started noticing around week 3 when we won our first game against the Seahawks that we won despite him, not because of him. And I've actually made a small compilation of Marcus Mariota game-losing plays or potential game-losing plays that we still won the game despite him having this terrible play. So let's get into it. Wow. So this is definitely not his worst play. It is one of his worst plays, but it's not the worst play I've seen from him. And I definitely don't attribute this one play to the loss. We did just choke. The one and only choke under the Arthur Smith regime. May I remind you guys, it's not the same choke in Falcons. But look at this. Look at this. He has the first down nailed, and he's a veteran quarterback. He's been in the NFL since 2015. Slide. What are you fighting for 2 extra yards for? We need to run the ball. We need to run the clock out, kick a field goal or a touchdown. If we could get it, would be nice. But like, you have the first down. Those 2 extra yards are not as important as securing the ball, securing the first, keeping the ball with us. And by fighting for those 2 extra yards, he turned it over. He's a veteran quarterback. These are mistakes he should not be making. Now, on to the next clip. Now, week 2, we almost came back from down 28-3 against the Rams. It was awesome. But we lost because of Marcus Mariota interception near the end of the game, in which he threw it into triple coverage. But at the time, I didn't think it was too bad of a loss because the Rams had just won the Super Bowl last year. And I was like, wow, we took these contenders to the brink. We almost came back a 25-point lead against them. I was actually very impressed with the team. Mariota actually made this great play on 4th down, which he made it harder than it should have been. But he still made this great play. I was pretty impressed with him. But, like, what was he thinking looking back at it? He threw it into triple coverage. Triple coverage. And, yeah, he basically sold that game. So, wow, that's disgusting. And now, on to the next clip. Now, week 3 is when I started to realize, maybe Mariota is the problem. This simple RPO, he just has to hand the ball off properly or keep the ball if you want to pass it. But he fumbled it. How do you fumble it on that? Like, what? And then not only did he fumble it, we didn't get the ball back. We lost the ball. Luckily, our defense came up with a clutch interception on Geno Smith to secure the game. But, like, we almost lost because of a very, very careless mistake. And I start to realize we could have won both week 1 and week 2 if he didn't make similar mistakes. Mariota was a problem. And this is when I start to realize it. On to the next.
On second down, play action. Mariota going deep. And his pass gets picked off at the ground.
Now weeks 4 to 8, Mariota actually played decent to good. We went 2-2. We got blown out by the Bengals and we lost to the Bucks. Game we really should have won. We would have probably won if there wasn't a BS roughing the passer called. We had all the momentum, but that's whatever. He actually won Player of the Week against the 49ers in a game in which he only threw 14 passes. But he went 13 for 14. Arthur Smith called a beautiful game, and I attribute that Player of the Week more to Arthur Smith on his play calling and the game style we played that game. But I'll talk about that when I talk about Arthur Smith. And Mariota really didn't have a disaster class until week 8 again. Now week 8 was a mess. He threw a interception in overtime, and we would have definitely lost the game if the Panthers kicker remembered how to kick. And yeah, Mariota's actually 1 of 21 on passes going 30 plus yards. 1 of 21. That is disgusting. On to the next.
Another play is going. Nice play. Deep downfield. A lot of good coverage. 51-yard line. Pressured again. Look out. Flag throw. Launches one deep downfield, and that's picked off at the 37-yard. And down goes Mariota, just getting.
Now week 9, he had a big overthrow on Pitts. Pitts could have had a little more effort on it, but he still missed Pitts. But he definitely was not the reason we lost that game. We lost that game because our defense didn't know how to hold on to the ball when they recovered a fumble. But anyway, that game, I can't blame it on Mariota. He made some poor throws, but definitely was the defense's fault we lost that. Anyway, now week 10 was the worst Mariota game I've seen all season. That game was terrible. I was certain he'd be benched after that game. That first play I showed where the pick was dropped, that was just a disgusting throw. Where is he throwing it? He threw it at the defender. The second play, wow, he extended the play, but then he threw it again to the defender. Pitts and London are both there. Throw it to one of them. They're both, one is 6'6", one is 6'4". How are you not hitting them? How are you throwing it to the defender? And then that last play, I know it didn't count because he was down, but why are you even throwing it from the ground? You're not Patrick Mahomes. You're not Aaron Rodgers. What are you doing? The play is gone. Just why are you throwing it from the ground? I don't know what you're doing. It's just, all I can do is honestly laugh. That's hilarious that he thought he could extend that play. And then just poor throw after poor throw this game. I know it's raining, but he made some terrible decisions. Those were the 3 worst plays I saw, but there was a lot more. It was not a good game. And I don't know how Arthur Smith saw that and decided that he gave us the best chance to win. Anyway, on to the next.
Mariota, the pass is deflected in the air, and it's picked off.
Wow, week 11, we lose again. Now this one is kind of confusing. I'm kind of confused on Arthur Smith's decision to throw the ball here, especially when he hasn't been very trustworthy of Mariota all season to begin with. And it did get tipped, but Mariota could have definitely made a better play. I don't know, just an all-around nasty game-losing interception. I think we should have ran the ball. Mariota definitely did not give us the best chance to win that game by throwing the ball. Also, we could have run out the clock because I wouldn't trust our defense even with that little much time left to stop them from scoring. But yeah, just the overall very nasty play from Mariota here. And weird decision-making from Arthur Smith. I don't know what to say. On to the next. Surprise, he threw 2 game-losing interceptions in back-to-back weeks. Wow. Luckily for us, Arthur Smith finally decided he had seen enough, and now it is time for Desmond Ridder. In Ridder we trust, right? Well, obviously he's a rookie, so we should expect some rookie mistakes, but this is what I'm expecting from Ridder. 1, the ability to complete passes deeper than 20 yards consistently. Not every pass, obviously. I don't expect any quarterback to do that except for maybe Mahomes. But consistently, I think he can do better than 1 of 21 on deep balls. I pray he does better than that. Hit London on the deep routes. We don't want him to be just seen as a short route person. He's obviously a great receiver. We want it to be used to the extent of his abilities. And so from Ridder, I'm expecting about 200 yards 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. That's what I'm predicting. And I predict that he gets London his first 100-yard game of the season. I think his decision-making will be around the same as Mariota's, but he won't make careless fumbles. At least I hope he doesn't. And I do think he'll make some ugly throws because he's a rookie and it's going to be his first game. But I still think overall the offense, at least the passing offense, will look better than it has with Mariota the past few weeks, and London will shine. That is my prediction. And yeah, QB play has hurt us a lot this season. We have been winning despite Mariota, not because of him, as you can see from these clips. A lot of wins have been left on the table because of Mariota, and I'm not expecting to win out with Ridder. I'm thinking 1 or 2 wins out of the last few. It would be great if we could win. I really hope we beat the Saints, but I'm really not expecting the playoffs. But I am excited to see what an attacking offense will look like now that we can actually open up the field, hopefully with Ridder under center, because we haven't really been able to do that. But yeah, Mariota was a bridge quarterback, obviously, but he was not, like, that was not a good time. It was disgusting to watch some of those games, especially that second TNF game against the Panthers. Wow. Hopefully Ridder makes the offense look better, and I think we will end 6-11 or 7-10 and have a top 15 draft pick. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about Arthur Smith. Now, this is his second year. His first full year, we went 7-10, which pretty good for the roster we had. I think Arthur Smith is a good coach, but not a great coach. And let me first explain why he's a good coach. So the Falcons currently have 2,066 rushing yards. That is 4th best in the entire NFL. Only teams above us are the Bears, the Eagles, and the Ravens. And all 3 of those teams have one amazing rusher. The Bears have Justin Fields, probably the 2nd best dual threat QB in the NFL right now. So he's always a threat to rush. The Ravens obviously have Lamar. They also have a pretty good run game with J.K. Dobbins, and they love running the ball over there. And then the Eagles have Hurts, and Miles Sanders has 1,000 rushing yards. So yeah, the Falcons, we did this with 4 different rushers, Marcus Mariota included, but he's not on the same level as those other 3 dual threats. And we have Tyler Leisure, who's a rookie, Cordell Patterson, who's 30 plus, and Caleb Huntley. So the fact that Arthur Smith could scheme those 4 into 2,000 rushing yards is insane. Absolutely insane. We also average 4.9 yards per rush. 4.9, almost 5 yards per rush, which is tied for 5th best in the NFL. With people like Tyler Leisure is a rookie, Cordell Patterson is 31 years old, and we're averaging 4.9 yards per rush. Arthur Smith is a genius when it comes to scheming the run. He could scheme anyone back there to getting yards, and it is crazy. His play calling, at least his running play calling, is amazing. That's why I think he's a good coach. He's also, with the roster we have right now, 5 wins, 5-8, and only out of first place by 1 game is pretty impressive. We only have 17 sacks on the year, and about 9 of them come from Grady Jarrett and Lorenzo Carter. 2 players have almost more than half our sacks, actually. And then our secondary has been pretty banged up. Terrell is finally back, and he's playing good, but we've been pretty banged up. And still, we have 5 wins. So I do think Arthur Smith is a good coach. He's definitely overhated. He's not a bad coach by any means. Now, this is why I don't think he's great. First of all, he's very stubborn. He refused to bench Mariota until now, for the longest time. I feel like if we benched him after the Panthers game, we had a good chance to win the Washington game and the Steelers game. We lost them because of Mariota's game-losing interceptions. So if we didn't have Mariota playing, we definitely could have won those games. And if we had won those games, we'd have the division lead by 1 game right now. So he's very stubborn. He also refuses to tank. He elevated this roster to 7 wins last year, probably around 7 wins this year, but he's not good enough to elevate us to the playoffs. He's not on that tier of coach, the elite level coach, the great coaches who can take a bad roster to the playoffs. Right now, Brian DeBall is showing that in New York. Daniel Jones is not much better than Marcus Mariota. Their defense, you cannot tell me their defense is much better than our defense right now. I mean, it's playing well most games, but roster-wise, it is not much better than our roster. He is just a great coach. Dan Campbell in Detroit, he is a great coach. His locker room presence, from what we've seen in videos and stuff, he is commanding that locker room. He's doing great over there. And he has the Lions They only have one more win than us, but they are looking dominant so far. They have some great wins, and Jared Goff, he's playing good, but obviously he's better than Mariota. But this difference level is not that significant as to where it just that the QB is that much better. That's why they're doing better. The coaching matters there. So yeah, Arthur Smith is a good coach, not yet great, and I don't like how he has us in purgatory right now. I feel like we should have tanked this year possibly, and we could have gotten Bryce or CJ, because we're obviously rebuilding, but it's very hard to rebuild if you don't have the quarterback of the future. Look at Washington. Washington's been trying to rebuild without a quarterback, and they've been stuck in purgatory, either barely missing the playoffs or making the playoffs and losing first round. You can't really have a good rebuild without a quarterback. Look at Cincinnati. They sucked. They got Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow got hurt obviously in his first year, but they had a bad year that year. Second year, they made the Super Bowl. This year, they're definitely going to make the playoffs. You need a good quarterback to build around. Right now, we don't even know what we have in Ridder, but he might be the future. Hopefully, we'll see. But Arthur Smith's stubbornness again, his refusal to tank, but he's good enough to elevate the roster to 7 or 8 wins, but not good enough yet to take us to the playoffs. And if we do sneak in the playoffs at say 8 wins because of our historically weak division, I'm obviously not going to say Arthur Smith's a bad coach. Oh, he took us into the playoffs in a weak division. He's not actually good. If he takes us to the playoffs, he's a good coach. I've been saying he's a good coach. I'm just saying he's not yet a great coach. If we do make the playoffs, it's not because because he completely elevated this bad roster into an amazing team or anything. He's a good coach. He has the makings of a great coach in the future. But even if we do make the playoffs this year, I'm not ready to say he's a great coach. But I do think he'll get there, maybe next season, maybe a little bit after that. But he is on the path to being a great coach. He just isn't one yet, regardless of if we make the playoffs or not, because of what I've said. Because if we didn't have that historically weak division this year, we definitely would not be making the playoffs. So he's a good coach, not yet great. And now let's talk about AJ Terrell and the defense. So week 1, Terrell, our cornerback 1, Michael Thomas unlocks for 3 quarters. And then quarter 4 happened, and Michael Thomas ended up with 2 touchdowns and 50 yards. Now, I'm not going to try to defend those touchdowns. They were perfectly placed balls where only Michael Thomas could get it. And Terrell did get beat on those plays, but there's really not much he could do. But yes, he definitely got beat. And then week 2, he got beat by Allen Robinson for a touchdown. Week 3, he had a decent game. They credited DK Metcalf touchdown on him, but he wasn't the primary defender. PFF says Terrell's given up 7 touchdowns this year, but they credit him like the DK Metcalf touchdown, which he was the closest defender, but it wasn't the primary defender. So I think he really has 4 or 5 touchdowns given up on him. But since week 4, Terrell has been pretty good. Week 4, he guarded Amari Cooper and only gave up 1 catch for 9 yards. He got injured a few games after that, so he was out for a few weeks. But then since he's been back, he locked up Terry McLaurin. Terry only had 1 catch on him for, I think, 3 yards. And then in the past 3 weeks, he's only given up 9 yards. There's been some clips like the Bears game where he went to tackle the tight end, and everyone like posted that clip saying he got beat, but the tight end wasn't even his man. He just went to go for the tackle, and then Pat Fearmouth was toasting us the other game, but Terrell wasn't guarding him, so I don't know why everyone was blaming that on Terrell. Now the defense as a whole has been getting burnt quite a lot, but also they've been forcing some turnovers. We have 10 interceptions on the year and 5 forced fumbles. Not bad. Pass rush has been pretty gross, but we don't really have any pass rushers. Grady has been great in the trenches. Lorenzo Carter's been a pleasant surprise. He hasn't been terrible. He's been solid. So yeah, the defense is pretty much what I expected it to be. I expected Casey Hayward to do better. He was getting burnt week 1 and really hasn't shown much, and then he got hurt. Isaiah Oliver's been hurt. So defense is pretty much what you'd expect from the Falcons. Not anything like super impressive, but not terrible. We've been like mediocre to kind of bad, not awful, not anything special. So yeah, defense has just been the defense. They've given up big chunk plays as you'd expect, but also have made some timely interceptions at times. So yeah, pretty mid. Let's talk about the offensive line. Let's take a second to appreciate Chris Lindstrom. He has been one of the highest, if not the highest, graded lineman by PFF all season long. And since week 11, he has had a 99.9 grade. They don't give out hundreds. That is the highest grade you can get. He has been impressive by every definition of the word impressive. And it's actually been spreading to the rest of the line. Caleb McGarry, he has not been very good. Prior to this year he's playing solid. He's actually the second highest rated Falcon, according to PFF grades. Drake London's third, if anyone is wondering. But he's been so impactful that it's spreading to the rest of the line. Drew Dahlman has actually not been playing bad either. He was ranked top 3 in one of the Falcons game by PFF, one of the top players, contributors to that game. So the line as a whole has been playing solid. I think part of it has to do with the fact that Marcus Mariota is a lot more mobile in the pocket than Matt Ryan was. So he does avoid more sacks. He can get around a little more. But I think the line as a whole has just been playing better. And a lot of it is due to the fact that Jalen Mayfield is not out there. He was bad last year. Wow. I think he gave up the most sacks by a player. I don't know for sure, so don't quote me on that. But yeah, he was not very good last year. And then Chris Lindstrom just took a massive step. He was good, but he wasn't this good. And he has been playing out of his mind. He's probably going to be our only Pro Bowler. So wow, the line has been a pleasant surprise. Also, I think part of it has to do with Arthur Smith's play calling. He schemes a lot of runs, so like quick blocks, easier to block, easier pass protection than it is for passes. And we do run it at a very high rate. So that probably has some factor in how good our offensive line has been. But wow, it's been a pleasant surprise. No one expected our line to even be... Everyone thought our line would be one of the worst in the whole NFL. And it definitely is not that. That's why I'm saying we just got to get our quarterback of the future in there. We got Chris Lindstrom to protect him. Man, that offense will start to click like that. So I'm excited to see it. And wow, once again, Chris Lindstrom has been lights out amazing. It's been awesome to watch. And yeah, the line has been a very pleasant surprise. Probably the most surprising thing for the season in my case. I did not expect the line to be this good. Like it hasn't been amazing, but definitely thought to have one of the worst lines in the NFL again, and that's definitely not the case. So wow, I'm pleasantly surprised. So the season has definitely been interesting. Kyle Pitts scored his first touchdown on American soil. He hit the Dirty Bird. We are somehow in play for winning the division. I know no one expected that in the offseason. Don't even try to act like you expected the Bucks to be this bad and the Saints to be this bad. We love to see it, though. The line is a pleasant surprise. Arthur Smith has been pretty good coach. We have a top 5 running game in the NFL. So the season as a whole has been very interesting. I am very, very excited to see how Ridder does. I hope he unlocks London, because the London disrespect has been getting kind of out of hand lately on social media. And yeah, I am pretty surprised by what the team is at. I hope we beat the Saints and then go 6-11 and get a top 12 pick. And I hope we use that to bolster our pass rush, or we trade back for a corner, something like that. But yeah, if we do make the playoffs, that's awesome. That'd be cool. Get the team some nice playoff experience. It's also been 5 years since we made the playoffs. It'll be fun to watch us in the playoffs again. But I'm not expecting that. If we make it, it'll be a pleasant surprise. Anyway, let me leave y'all with this.
The remix to Ignition, hot and fresh out the kitchen. Mama rolling that body. And